The Cosmic Briefing, hosted by award-winning author Dr. Allison Brown, opens the door to disclosure, consciousness, galactic history, and humanity's awakening.
Hey everyone, I'm glad you're here. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about consciousness and why consciousness is so important, not only to the disclosure timeline, but also to our physical body and how we interact in the world around us, and in playing out our contract that we came here to experience. So I've talked a lot in the past about consciousness and how we cannot truly understand disclosure until we understand multidimensionality, consciousness, and who we are as divine beings. You know, Bruce Lipton is someone he's an actual MD, and he has studied consciousness and the role that it plays in turning on and off our genes, activating DNA, and explaining how our ancestral history or our genetics are not the biggest factor in what happens to our physical body. So everything happens energetically before it manifests into our physical body. So before you have that skin rash, before cancer develops, before any other disorder or your gut starts acting up, there are energetic things going on behind the scenes that we are most likely not aware of, because it is very difficult to pick up on those ahead of time unless we're very sensitive and we're tuning in purposefully, myself included, absolutely. But I want to highlight this story that was broadcast on Dr. Jeffrey Mishlov's podcast. His podcast is called New Thinking Aloud, and gosh, it must have been at least a year, maybe a year and a half. I don't know if it's been 2 years, that he had on a human being who had two consciousnesses operating in the body, Annika and Tristan. And I'll tell you, this is quite mind-blowing, and it might rock your boat a little bit if you're not sort of familiar with this idea of consciousness, walk-ins, and things like that. And I have not seen, I say them, it's one human with two consciousnesses that have two separate personalities operating in this body, so I'll call them them. I haven't seen them interviewed anywhere. I know they're very private, purposefully, because I don't know that the world is 100% ready for that yet, but they felt this need, and I confirmed it when we did some channeling about their story. They felt this need to get this information out into the human collective. And so once information and ideas are placed out into the human collective, then it starts to disseminate, and it's out there for anybody to pick up and to explore. And so it needed to come out right now. This was the time. But without going into their background and how this happened, I'll let you listen. It was a series of 2 different podcasts, I believe, 2 interviews with them to explain their story and how this happened and how they became aware of it and how they operate within the body. But one of the most important things that I took away from that interview was when one consciousness was in the body operated from a certain level with certain allergies or food sensitivities, certain proclivities, preferences. And when the other consciousness stepped in, there were no allergies, or there were different preferences and different things, different ways of talking. It was very similar to what we might think of as multiple personality disorder, but it is quite different. It's distinctly different. I don't know for sure, but my sense is that in multiple personality disorder, it is actually compartmentalization of the brain, storing that information for each of the personalities. It isn't an entirely new consciousness coming in. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you've explored this somehow. But with this situation, there were 2 distinct personalities coming in, one for Annika, one for Tristan, one male, one female. The female personality, Annika, wanted to dress and behave and be a female. She was female. Her consciousness was presenting as female in the body. she was the primary forward-facing personality at this point. Tristan was the original body. Tristan was male originally, presented as male, and still when his consciousness comes in to speak, he's speaking like a male, he's presenting like a male, and it's a completely different presentation, a different personality. But this is huge when you think about what Annika said. I believe it was Tristan that is allergic to seafood, if I'm not mistaken. I could have that backwards. It's been a while since I watched this interview. But one of them is allergic to seafood or something like that. As soon as the other consciousness is in control of the body and the other one has taken a back seat, the body is not allergic to that food. Okay, this is huge because this means that it is the actual consciousness that's turning on and off the genes or the mechanism by which the allergy manifests. In other words, your body holds all potentials or a multitude of potentials. Your body holds potentials from your genetic line, from your ancestry, from your parents. One parent may have had, there might be a history of breast cancer, there might be a history of heart disease. But you don't have to succumb to that because it's your consciousness that decides whether that appears in your life. Now, does it take a good deal of control to be able to manipulate and work with your consciousness enough such that this disorder doesn't manifest? Absolutely. I'm not saying that this is easy, and I'm not blaming victims in terms of if you have cancer, then you did something wrong. It's not about that. Sometimes there are other reasons why you intersect with a particular disease or disorder or discomfort or something like that. There are other reasons that you're having that experience. But this is incredible in terms of the scientific understanding and what this means for us and our healing process. And I know that, the healing of the physical body isn't necessarily a cosmic topic or a galactic topic, but the idea of consciousness and its role in our lives and in the way that we interact not only with our physical body, but within the machines like the UFO craft. It operates with your consciousness. And so where we are headed in this fifth dimensional realm, this fifth dimensional understanding and ascension process that we're going through, that's going to give us an awareness of our consciousness and the way to utilize our consciousness differently in ways that are more beneficial, not only for us and our body, but for humanity in general. And so in a way, it is tied to disclosure and to cosmic topics and the galactic perspective, because consciousness is it. Consciousness is what animates our body. It is that connection to the divine that we have to act out our contract. And so this is a huge deal. This is very important. So if you are thinking, oh gosh, I'm 40 and my dad and all of the males in my family have died at 59 from heart disease or something like that, I want you to understand that that doesn't have to be your story. There are ways that you can harness your consciousness, harness your contract, learn the lessons before they manifest in your physical body. Again, it can be more complicated. I don't mean to make it sound simplistic, but there are things you can do. It isn't a lost cause. It isn't oh yeah, all my family members had this, so I'm destined to have it too. It isn't about that. Not only that, if you think about that every day and you're infusing that message into yourself every day, or you're saying that to yourself, or you're fearing it, then you're helping to manifest it by putting that energy out there, because we're creator beings. We're creating whatever it is we want to see in the world. So at the very least, change the self-talk. Tell yourself that this doesn't have to happen, that that's not you. Listen to vibrational and frequency music. Look up healers and practitioners that can help you to reverse that and change that outcome, that process. And if you want your mind blown, look up Jeffrey Mishlove, New Thinking Aloud. And like I said, scan his previous interviews for the ones on Tristan and Annika. And once you've done that and listened to that, let me know what you think in the comments. I am curious to know, because it can be quite shocking even to those of us who are used to this sort of thing and have operated in past life regression and consciousness exploration and all of that. So let me know what you think. And if you like these kinds of topics, please join us in our school community. The deets are down below, and I'll see you next time.